So this is a review for Hobby Horse-Laffs, released in 1942. It's the 369th in the series, and it's directed by McCabe. There is a HD version, but it's in the public domain, and I'll play the short for you guys after I finish this review. But for consistency's sake, I'll just let you know what happens in the short, and it's a parody of a popular radio show at the time, where people would discuss their various hobbies, and this is just a play on that with different segments. It's like a spot gag cartoon, really. So first up, you're going to see a highlight reel of the audio commentary I did for this short with my good friends Steph Stilley and Blue Genocide, who also helped edit this review. And after that, you'll hear some new thoughts from me, and yeah, you can watch the short yourself. So grab some popcorn and enjoy. With me today are my fellow hobby enthusiasts, Blue Genocide and Steph Stilley. Say hi, guys.
Howdy.
God, I'd hate to have a hobby in the 40s.
Wow. So you wouldn't be like this gentleman here, which, you know, is like a William Bligh sort of impersonation. I mean, this isn't you, is it, Blue?
No.
You get upset over something?
Absolutely not.
Just a few things just to let everyone know. So this is basically, as you'd expect already, it's a spot gag short. It's based off a radio program of the time called Hobby Lobby, which, you know, would have been people just talking about their hobbies. So, and unlike the radio, we can actually see some visual fun, like this ridiculous plant. Yay, I guess.
Hobby Lobby is like the name of like a chain store around.
I have to say though, I was so happy at this title. When I saw the title, I'd never seen this cartoon before. Watching this for the first time earlier today, I was so happy it wasn't another Chuck Jones horse cartoon. I was gonna say that's the bastard love child of Elmer and Bugs.
Could be that. So here's the Richard Haydn thing, where if you hear the voice, it sounds familiar because if you've seen Super Rabbit, we got that "my greatest experiment." You know, it's the same voice. It's an interesting little gag. I mean, this is pretty much what Blue does in his spare time. Just
oh yeah, because I am tuned at any instrument, let alone multiple with my mouth.
Now all together.
Yeah, this is one of those shorts where it's not the best, but it's also not the worst. You can watch it, get a few laughs, but you might not remember it though.
It's pretty forgettable. I mean, the last gag is really funny.
Like, this one doesn't quite work for me, for whatever reason. It's just this guy just putting his dog back in, and
yeah, I think the problem is he just doesn't seem physically hurt enough. Like, he's still got the dog in there. He's still, like, the master. He just got bit on the ass, right?
That's it, yeah. And
the thing with McCabe is that he's like towards the end of his directing career, he kind of starts to develop his own style, but it's kind of a rough start for him, especially with like these early ones.
Yeah,
this could have been done by anybody.
Painful.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing how stupid it is.
Well, they've done that joke like 7 or 8 times by this point.
And of course, you got the reveal of where he actually is. Like, why would he still be holding all that stuff? I don't know.
Who would arrest him over that?
But who would even come up with this invention? This is just such a ridiculous. Like, who needs that? Like, why? Why? I don't
Well, it's
know.
obviously Anthony eating a donut.
Well, clearly. Here's the thing, how are these... Some of these are not even hobbies. Like, okay, so someone's developed a Hot-Foot thing, but I don't know why is that a hobby. I don't know. I do like this gag. It's just, you know, like, yep, doesn't care what's going on. Yep, something awful's obviously happened, and it's like, no, okay. Forwarding address unknown. Pretty dark. Yeah, final thoughts, guys, as we wind up the cartoon?
The last gag was good.
Yeah. This is probably one I'm going to forget about pretty quickly.
Yeah. It's okay. Not the best, not the worst, but I've seen worse. So as mentioned, that whole commentary track is still up on the channel, and I figured, hey, let's just put the highlights here to keep things consistent. So, Going through the short itself, there are a few things that I did miss the first time round, so I thought I'd add some extra information here and some further context and all that. First of all, this is the first Norm McCabe short with only one-off characters. So before he did some Porkies, he had Daffy Duck, but now it's just a spot gag short with all sorts of weird and wonderful wacky characters. The title is a play on both the radio show this is parodying, which was called Hobby Lobby, but it's also a play on the toy known as Hobby Horse, the little stick with the horse head at the very end. So let's go through each segment one by one, and the first thing that amazed me though is how they managed to squeeze 13 different segments in this. That's a lot. That's a lot for a spot gag short, but it somehow works. I will say that this short isn't exactly a favourite of mine when it comes to spot gag shorts. This one's very hit or miss, and unfortunately I think it's mostly miss. But let's take a look at them one by one anyway. So in the first segment, this is an obvious parody of William Bligh from Mutiny on the Bounty, where you got someone who's obsessed with boats, and of course he's absolutely crazy. But take a look at the bit where the guy puts his hand inside the jacket. He does that whole Napoleon pose, and at the time, the whole Napoleon gag is basically signifies that somebody's crazy. That it's like the Napoleon syndrome, that they think that they're superior, but of course everyone else thinks they're crazy. So we get a nice little 2-in-1 there. But it's an okay gag. I thought it was alright. Nice backgrounds, though. Segment 2 is about a plant hobbyist's plant food, and the whole line where it says, "It's a possibility," in the really exaggerated way, that refers to a catchphrase by a radio character, Mr. Kitzel, performed by the comic actor Artie Urbuck, if I said correctly. It's a Met gag. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, moving on, kind of thing, but that's where that reference is. Then we get another plant-related one where you got a person strolling through a cactus garden. As a little quickie gag, it's fine, and it's a nice way, I guess, to save on animation too, because you barely see anything, right? The next segment, I think it's more hilarious for what it isn't versus what it actually is, and this looks like the supposed love child of Elmer and Bugs Bunny, as per my friend. Now I can't get that out of my head, but anyway, it's a very funny design, I have to say. So, Kent Rogers does the dumb guy voice here, and again, if you know the history of Kent Rogers, it's really a shame that he was killed in World War II because he was such an amazing talent. He does a few voices in this short, and one of them, as mentioned, yes, is dumb guy voice. There is a reference to muscle shoals, and yeah, it refers to a person's real muscles, but it's also a real place in Alabama. But, I don't know, this one's stupid, but really, really funny. Just, is eating too many carrots affecting you? I don't think so, and well, sure enough, he's halfway between Elmer and Bugs Bunny here. Next segment, Kent Rogers again does another voice, and he does an impersonation of Richard Haydn of the Burns and Allen show. But Richard Haydn may be more well known today as the voice of the caterpillar in the Alice in Wonderland feature from Disney, and I love that voice, and you would have heard him from Super Rabbit as well, though the greatest experiments. I try and do that voice, but anyway. This gag's funny, but I think it's more funny due to the voice than the gag itself, especially if you know what Richard Haydn's supposed to sound like. Not just from Alice in Wonderland, but from the radio show, and there's plenty of examples on YouTube of that. Segment number 6. It's an interesting idea, and there's actually great timing on this one, where he's playing on these different instruments, and then you get all of them put together when he tries to play everything at once. And I like the punchline that he was cheating, so he's got the record on his back, and that's a reference to the fact that a lot of talent shows at the time were plagued by people trying to win and by, of course, cheating. And I guess it still happens today because in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, someone was caught out cheating because someone in the audience was basically coughing out the answer, so to speak. So, yeah. So it still happens, but it definitely wasn't anything new. So segment 7, see, I'm not a fan of this sequence, the whole thing with the Scottish guy. There's just no real big punchline. It's like, okay, haha, he got part of his butt bitten off. So what? But the reference of Lochinvar is from a Walter Scott poem, Marmion, and it's the name of the main character, and I probably butchered those words there, but anyway, I'm sure you get the point. I do like Mel Blanc's delivery. I always loved his different accents, and his Scottish one is no exception, but yeah, this one just didn't work for me as a gag. Segment 8, of course we're going to hear she was an acrobat's daughter, right? When we see that these people are being trained for flying, and of course, what do? They literally, fly. This one's so stupid I can't help but laugh at it. I guess the stupider it is, the better. I know some people don't like this one because they think it's too stupid, but no, I love it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Then segment 9, and it's a weird joke, but I gotta say the timing's pretty good here about someone's hobby of stealing stuff from hotels. And I guess for some people they think of it some sort of a tradition, if you will, to take something from a hotel, but this guy takes it to the extreme and, well, he's still holding all his stuff and he's put in a prison cell, so how about that? Segment 10 is, well, another meh gag. I didn't care for it too much, but this invention, or boon rather, as he says, is similar to an old-style dipping pen that was used before disposable biros came into play. So they would put the pen where the ink is, and they'll just lift up that little flap, and then it will suck up the ink, and then, yeah, you just use it as a regular old pen. But I don't get it. He creates this thing, and then he bites into it, and it explodes everywhere. I don't know. It didn't work for me, but whatever. The Anti-Hotfoot device here in segment 11 is a play on the fact that Hotfoot gags were rife at the studio at the time, and you only have to see the Christmas party videos to see that they even reference it there. So it was definitely a thing that went on, and a lot of folks would reference that in later interviews with various people like Michael Barrier and John K-Maker and so on. Segment number 12. So we've got a few references here. So the old-timer character is a send-up of the old-timer character in Fibber McGee and Molly, and here he's actually voiced by the very narrator of this short, Robert C. Bruce. We see a Hut-Sut reference, and that is a reference to the Hut-Sut song, which was featured prominently in the recent Hornet Hatches the Egg song, but it was a very popular song at the time. It was like this big nonsense song that just became very popular. But it's a very dark gag, and it's definitely one of the best in this short, filled with a lot of mech gags. And if you look at the old-timer's eyes, it's seemingly eyeing someone flying in the air. Oh, and if you look up Pocatello, Idaho, that's on the envelope. I looked it up. It's a real place. I'm not American, so I wasn't sure. I don't know if that's common knowledge or not, but anyway, it is a real place for those of us who weren't aware. And finally, segment number 13. So we got another decent gag as well. So Pot here is voiced by Kent Rogers, and it's a take on John Quaylen, who was a character actor at the time. And we get a nice little punchline at the end. It's a dated gag, to be sure, but it's based off the fact that some people at the time were just too cheap to buy their own newspapers and would try and sneak to reading articles of others. They wanted to save a dime or whatever the cost of the newspapers were at the time. And yeah, we get a nice little punchline where it's like, yeah, he's not this one guy who buys a newspaper and everyone else is trying to read off of him. All in all, this one gets about 6 out of 10, and most of that 6 comes from those few really good gags. And even in the bad ones, the animation's really nice, and this restoration's pretty good too. But it's forgettable. As far as spot gag cartoons go, at this point in time, the Tex Avery ones would have been really popular, hence why else would they keep getting Tex Avery to make them, right? But since Tex Avery's now gone to MGM, you'll find a lot of the different directors would do their own spot gag cartoons, and then eventually they just stopped doing them because I think they realised, hey, they can't quite meet Tex Avery standards in that regard. So, that'll do it for this review, so check out the cartoon for yourself, let me know what you think in the comments below, and until next time, take care.
Hobbies play an important part in the lives of all of us. Let's have a look at some of the more unusual hobbies and hobbyists of the nation. The living room of Orville Scudder gives ample evidence of his hobby, which is boats. Big boats, little boats. In fact, he's just crazy about boats.
It's mutiny, Mr. Christian.
Amateur botanist Herman Dipple has developed a marvelous plant food. Mr. Dipple, Mr. Dipple, is it true that your plant food really makes things grow?
Yes. It's a possibility.
This is the modest home of Prentice Slemp. His pride and joy is his cactus garden, in which he spends many happy hours. Here he is now, strolling among his splendid specimens.
Ow! Ow! Ooh! Ah! Ooh! Ah! Ooh! Ow! Ooh! Ah!
Herbert Strongfort of Muscle Shoals makes a hobby of keeping physically fit. His diet of raw carrots is largely responsible for his iron physique. But Herbie, isn't there any drawback to living exclusively on raw carrots?
No, not that I know of.
Amateur magic is the fascinating hobby of Chutney Giggleswick, who will now take...
Yes. I will do a most difficult trick. I will cover the goldfish bowl, thus, and with a wave of my magic wand, thus, I will make the bowl, the cloth, and the fish completely disappear. Alakazam, alakazam, presto! A fine magician you are.
Violin. Slap bass. Piccolo. Trombone. Now all together. I was cheating.
The handling of vicious dogs has long been the unusual hobby of Samson McDivitt. His domination over these brutes is unquestioned.
Get in there, Luckyver. Get yourself in the house right now. Get in there and stay there. I guess he realizes who's master around here. Aye.
Here an instructor explains to his class of gliding enthusiasts the principles of motorless flight, how to avoid treacherous downdrafts, and how to take advantage of warm rising thermals. There they go, off to apply their instruction in man's closest challenge to the art of the birds. This proud gentleman has the largest collection of hotel towels and silverware in the entire world. Julius Digby makes a hobby of inventing boons to mankind. Probably his greatest boon to mankind is his Digby Deluxe Dunking Donut, guaranteed against all dripping and drainage.
Some boon, eh, kid?
Another equally successful creation is his Anti-Hotfoot shoe.
Hello there. Old man Hut-Sut down the road a piece has the dangest hobby. Always experimenting with explosives. Seems pretty risky to me, Johnny. But every man to his own taste, I always say. Hey, wait a minute. Okay, go ahead. Turn now. What's Dick Tracy doing today? Oh, say, let's do the cross-white puzzle, huh?
Well, can this be a hobby?
I beg your pardon. My name is Bots. I got a hobby too. I make all kinds of handy gadgets.
Well, Mr. Potts, I'm sure everyone will be glad you've given this device to the world.
Yeah! Everybody will be so